Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Today is April Fool's Day. It is April 1st. So, I don't know, do a lot of people still partake in April Fools? I feel like lately, over the last few years, a lot of people don't participate in April Fools. You see it a little bit on social media with these companies. They like do these April Fools jokes, whatever. But in everyday life, you don't really see a lot of people participating in April Fools. I don't know. I remember being a kid in elementary school, junior high. It was always a big deal. Maybe it's more of a big deal when you're younger and you're a kid, but as you get older, it doesn't really matter anymore. I don't know. Anyway, today I will be listening to some Rainbow by Mariah Carey. This is her seventh studio album, and there are 14 tracks. It's 56 minutes. I haven't heard any of the tracks yet except for track number one, Heartbreaker, featuring Jay-Z. And I'm looking at the track list. I think that's the only track I've heard off this album, and there's 14 of them. So I haven't heard 13 of the tracks. But like always, if I start listening to a song and it sounds familiar, I'll let you guys know. And so let's get right into it with track number one, Heartbreaker, featuring Jay-Z. It also says album version, so I don't know what that is. So anyway, let's get into it. But before we get into track number one, I just want to point out the album artwork, and she looks phenomenal. That body, she is rocking it. I don't know if there's any Photoshop being done here. I mean, there might be, but at the end of the day, she still looks simply amazing. She looks so happy. She looks so confident. And I will say I am a little disappointed because as I look at the album artwork, I see a beautiful rainbow spray painted across her torso, her chest, and the wall behind her, and it's making me think of Gay Pride. And in my city, Gay Pride Week usually goes for about 2 weeks, and it's usually occurring at the end of May or beginning of June. And it looks like because of the coronavirus that it's going to be postponed to the fall time around September, or it might just be flat out canceled, which is so tragic because it's just something to look forward to every year. During the springtime, it's a way to get out and engage with people and have fun. And all these festivals and concerts are being canceled or postponed left and right. It's so tragic, it's so sad, and it's so frustrating at the same time. But I totally get it. I mean, we have to do what we have to do to fight this epidemic. But anyway, enough talk about that. Let's get into it with track number one, Heartbreaker.
She wanna shop with Jay, play box with Jay. She wanna fight with lame chicks, blow my dick. Answer the phone, tattoo her arm. That's when I gotta send her back to her mom.
Okay, and that was track number one, Heartbreaker. Yes, this is like so many Mariah Carey songs from the 90s. Her singles released in the 90s, they always take me back to my elementary school years, and this was no exception, just like Honey. This one, Heartbreaker, is taking me back to elementary school. Wow. And there's also something very current about this song. It sounds like a track that could have been released today in 2020. And of course, there was Jay-Z as well, who is simply amazing. He sounds good almost anything he does, so that's a no-brainer. But I will say, I don't know how popular this song was back in 1999. Like I said, I was just in elementary school. I wasn't following the charts or anything. I was just listening to what I liked. I remember listening to the Spice Girls and the Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. That was a good time in my life. Oh my god, and Hanson. Bop, bop. I remember being a kid and my uncle, my eccentric uncle, would come up around the house and he would start singing Bop by Hanson, and he would also start singing Wannabe by the Spice Girls, and that's how I was introduced to the Spice Girls. Was my uncle would come around the house and he would start singing to my cousins and my sister and myself. Really funny. Anyway, let's move on to track number two, Can't Take That Away, Mariah's theme. Alrighty, and that was track number 2, Can't Take That Away, Mariah's theme. And wow, this was a very powerful, touching, and meaningful song, and I really enjoyed it. I love the lyrics, of course. It's a Mariah song, so of course I like the lyrics. She says, they can say anything they want to say, try to bring me down, but I will not allow anyone to succeed, hanging clouds over me. And then she goes on to say, but I refuse to falter when I believe or lose faith in my dreams, because there is a light in me that shines brightly. Beautiful. And what I also love about the songs, at the bottom, it says written by Mariah Carey and Diane Warren. I absolutely love Diane Warren. She has penned some of my favorite pop songs of all time, and I absolutely love her. Anyway, let's move on to track number 3, Bliss. It's like I'm listening to a bird. Okay, and that was track number 3, Bliss. Wow. She was using that whistle register of hers nonstop in this song. And it was reminding me of Snow White, you know, when Snow White runs out of those scary haunted woods and she throws herself on the ground and she's crying and she wakes up. And all these animals come to her. It's a very iconic scene, and she starts whistling and singing. It reminds me of that. And this song reminds me of Snow White when Mariah uses that whistle register. It's a very romantic song, and I liked it. It put me in a very zen mood, a very therapeutic mood. So now let's move on to track number 4, How Much. This reminds me of No Scrubs. No? Am I the only one? Okay, and that was track number 4, How Much. And like I said, the song kind of reminded me of No Scrubs by TLC, that part of the production where you'll know what I mean if you listen to it. But anyway, I liked it. I mean, the production on this song in particular sounds very 90s. If I didn't know what year this album came out, I could probably pick up on the fact that this came out in the 90s. And when it comes to her more current sounding R&B songs you would have heard on her Butterfly album and now this album, I do like it if we're comparing all of them, and it was enjoyable. So now let's move on to track number 5, After Tonight. Alrighty, so that was track number 5, After Tonight, and this was just a classic Mariah ballad, just simple and beautiful. Because it's such a classic Mariah ballad, I want to say that's why this might be my least favorite track on the album so far. But just because it's my least favorite doesn't mean I don't like it. I still like it. But I feel like we might have heard this type of song before from Mariah. And I know I've said that time and time again, how she does sing a lot of ballads. A lot of you have pointed out in the comments that That's just who Mariah is. That's her aesthetic, and she will have a lot of ballads in her albums. And I like it. I can appreciate it. It's a very classic Mariah ballad. And what I also love about this song is that it's written by Mariah Carey, Diane Warren once again, and David Foster. I love David Foster. I actually watched this documentary on Netflix, or I think it was Crave TV, some sort of streaming site. And the documentary is called David Foster Off the Record, I believe. Yes. And you just learn about David Foster, where he came from, and how much influence he had in the music industry. And it's a very interesting watch, I will say. So now let's move on to track number 6, Ex Girlfriend. Okay, and that was track number 6. Did I just say track number 6? Did you see that pause there? That subtle pause where I was like, wait. Anyway, that was track number 6, Ex-Girlfriend. I think it's because there's an X, 6, and there's an X, so I was like, sex, but oh, wow. And this is definitely the most pop-sounding Mariah Carey song I have heard up until now. It's definitely very Christina Aguilera-ish. I don't know how I feel about it. I like it because it's fresh and it's new for Mariah. We're not used to these kind of very pop sounding songs. I love it when musicians change up their aesthetic and they don't stick to the same status quo in each of their albums. They know what they're good at, so they kind of stick to that. But I love it when an artist is willing to take chances and change up their sound, take risks. I love it when an artist does that. So though I can appreciate her going more pop, I don't know how I feel about the more pop sounding Mariah. I do want to say this song is my least favorite on the album. It was very catchy, like I said. It could have been released by Christina Aguilera, any girl pop star of the time. I don't know, I'm not really feeling the whole mainstream pop Mariah where she's sounding like a pop star. Are you a fan of this sort of Mariah where she sings more poppy songs? Or do you like the more raw R&B sounding Mariah like we heard on Butterfly? So now let's move on to track number 7, Heartbreaker Remix. Let's get into it. Is that Missy Elliott? Okay, so that was the remix of Heartbreaker, and I really liked it. I actually don't know which one I prefer now. Do I prefer the remix or the regular version? And I want to say the regular version with Jay-Z because it's so nostalgic for me. But I really like this remix version. It has Missy Elliott in it. And it was a lot of fun. It definitely was. So leave a comment, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the remix with Missy Elliott, or do you prefer the standard edition with Jay-Z? So now let's move on to track number 8 of Vulnerability, which is an interlude. So it is quite short. It's only about a minute. And then that will progress into track number 9, Against All Odds. Take a look at me now. Okay, so that was track number 9, Against All Odds. Take a look at me now. And yes, I have heard this song before, not Mariah's version, but I have heard the original version. It was really annoying me because as I was listening to the song, Mariah's version, I was thinking, where have I heard this song? Who sang the original? It's a little embarrassing, but I actually forget who sang the original, so I have to look it up. And it was Phil Collins, who I love Phil Collins' voice. Ugh. Anyway, Tarzan soundtrack. Don't get me started. Anyway, this was good. It was very passionate. I like her vocals in the song. I'm not, like I said this before, I'm not the biggest fan of Mariah's covers. I don't care for her covers, honestly. So I don't really care for this song, her version, but I like it. I'll listen to it again. It's a beautiful rendition, but it is what it is. But anyway, let's move on to track number 10, Cry Baby.
DPG style. You know.
Snoop Dogg.
Hear me when I say I'm feeling good today. Too fly to even waste your time. It's the girls that make them cry. Baby, don't cry. Dry your
Okay, and that was track number 10, Cry Baby. Call me crazy, but I want to say this is one of my favorite tracks on the album. Snoop Dogg. I mean, we have Snoop Dogg, we have Missy Elliott, all these surprise features. I mean, this is definitely the most mainstream and commercial sounding album she's released so far. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I really liked it. I love the production on this song. It sounds very... It reminds me of that Snoop Dogg song. I forget what it's called. One of his very first songs. But the production, when you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. How's that? I can't put my finger on it. Anyway, let's move on to track number 11. Did I Do That?
I hope that you're happy with some. Conversations mingling we and the things you would never do. And get caught up this song that you know it was meant for you. Though you're not just been that long.
Okay, and that was track number 11. Did I Do That? And yes, she did. And I wish she didn't. I don't want to say this, but this is probably, I mean, my opinion, one of the worst songs she's released up until now. Definitely, probably my least favorite Mariah Carey song up until now in her career in 1999. I did not like it at all. I thought it was horrible, and no. I mean, this song is all kinds of no. I hated it. I did not like it at all, which I have never said listening to a Mariah Carey song. There were songs she released prior to this album that I was indifferent to, but this song is in a league of its own. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I maybe I have to listen to it again, but I hated this song. I didn't like how she sounded in this song. I didn't like the voice she was using. It was very obnoxious sounding. I just feel like this whole song's obnoxious, and I just don't want to listen to it again. But anyway, let's move on to track number 12, Petals. Okay, and that was track number 12, Petals. Wow, this was so touching, and this is one of my favorite tracks off the album. Once again, the lyrics are quite heartbreaking. She's saying, I've often wondered if there's ever been a perfect family. I've always longed for undividedness and sought stability. A flower taught me how to pray. And then she goes on to say, and I miss you, little sis and little brother. So many I considered closest to me turned on a dime and sold me out dutifully. A very emotional and powerful song. It was very delicate and precious, just like a flower. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, one of my favorites. So now we have made it to the last two tracks on the album. Track number 13, Rainbow Interlude, which is just over a minute, and then that will progress into the final track on the album, Thank God I Found You.
I know there is a rainbow. I can find that rainbow. I'll give up everything. And I'll hurt from the heart, it would not subside. There's nothing in this world. Baby, alright. I'll be keeping
Yes! Oh my god. Wow. This is one of my favorite tracks on the album. I even want to go as far as say this is one of my favorite tracks that she's released over the span of the last few albums that she's put out. From Daydream to Butterfly, now this, definitely one of my favorite tracks. Maybe even one of my favorite tracks from her in general. Oh my god. I feel like this track is the redeeming track of this album. And it was timeless. I mean, it's up there with One Sweet Day and Hero and all those great ballads that she's put out. Anyway, that is Rainbow by Mariah Carey, and this was a very interesting album, I will say. It didn't sound like any of her prior albums at all. There was a mix of hip-hop, R&B, pop, and it was interesting. Rainbow is probably... It's probably near the bottom when it comes to my favorite Mariah Carey albums. Maybe towards the bottom or in the middle. I don't know. I mean, there were obviously songs I enjoyed that I would put in my Mariah Carey playlist, but there were a couple questionable songs that I didn't get as to why they were put on the album. I don't like the more mainstream pop sounding Mariah that we've heard on tracks like Ex-Girlfriend, and I don't know. It was a decent album. The standouts that really resonated with me were Heartbreaker, the Heartbreaker remix, Crybaby, Petals, and Thank God I Found You. So what did you guys think of the album? Where does it rank on your list of Mariah Carey albums? Does it sit near the bottom? Maybe it sits right at the top. Maybe it sits around the middle. And what are your favorite tracks? Which tracks stood out for you? How do you feel about the more pop sounding Mariah? And what were people saying when this album was released? How were they comparing it to her other albums? How were people feeling towards it? What was the vibe? But like always, I will have to listen to the album again to form a second opinion. There are many times where I listen to an album for a second time and my opinions change. So Who knows, maybe I'll end up liking this album a lot more after listening to it the second time. I can see why a lot of people would like this album because it is very commercial sounding, it's very current, it's very modern of the time in 1999. It's very much a departure from a lot of her earlier work. But at the same time, all those things I just said that people would like it for would also be things that people would dislike this album for because it is such a departure, and I can see why people actually would like this album as well. So I think that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching, guys. We will be moving on to Glitter, her soundtrack from 2001, the movie she starred in, which there's a lot of controversy there, but nonetheless, I am very much excited to listen to the Glitter soundtrack. Be ready. Anyway, I think that's all I want to say, so thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can tell me other artists I should check out. I'm open to any artists from any decade. You can find me on Apple Music, you can check out my playlist, you can check out what I'm listening to right now. And that is all I want to say. I just need to wrap up this video, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.